Have you ever noticed how quiet a room feels when someone is nearing the end of their life? Not sad, not loud, just still. As if even time itself is pausing to take a breath. It's in these moments, soft, almost imperceptible, that the body begins to whisper its final messages. Not with shouts or screams, but with quiet signs. Subtle shifts that only the heart can truly recognize if it's listening close enough. We often think of death as something that arrives abruptly, but for many it doesn't. It's not a door slamming shut, but a gentle dimming of the light. The body doesn't shut down all at once. It slows, step by step, like a river running dry. And while no two journeys are exactly the same, there are moments, soft, almost hidden moments, that often appear in the final months, weeks, even days. This video isn't meant to frighten you. It's not about predicting when your time or someone else's will come. It's about recognizing those signs with tenderness and grace. Because when we understand what the body is gently trying to say, we can offer more love, more presence, and more peace in those precious moments. There are a few ways the body begins this quiet transition. I won't list them out like medical notes. That's not the point here. Instead, I want to take you on a gentle walk through these experiences, like visiting old memories, one room at a time. Each space we enter might remind you of someone you've loved, or perhaps of yourself. And that's okay. This is a safe place for reflection. Let's start where many of these quiet changes begin, in the relationship with food and drink. It often begins with something so small we barely notice. A loved one who once asked for a second helping suddenly leaves most of their plate untouched. Sips of water turn into half sips, and then just moistening the lips. It's not stubbornness. It's not depression. It's the body's way of turning inward, of saying, I don't need as much from the world anymore. The digestive system, once busy and active, begins to rest. Hunger fades, not because of sadness, but because the body's no longer in a state of repair. It's gently letting go. And here's something that might surprise you. Many people in their final months report feeling strangely content. Not always, of course, but there's often a quietness, a calm that wraps around them like a familiar blanket. One daughter once told me, "It was like my mother was slowly disappearing into the softest part of herself. She wasn't in pain. She was simply drifting, gracefully, peacefully." This shift isn't always understood by those around them. We worry, we want to fix it. We urge them to eat, to drink, to get stronger. But sometimes the kindest thing we can do is sit beside them, hold their hand, and listen. If you're still with me right now, thank you. It means you care deeply, either for your own journey or for someone walking this path beside you. And that kind of love, it matters more than you know. If at any point you feel this video is helping, I gently ask you to share it. Not for me, but for the others, friends, siblings, neighbors, who might need these words at the right time. As the body continues to slow, another change often appears, one that feels even more delicate. Sleep begins to take over more of the day. But it's not the deep sleep we're used to. It's lighter, more fragmented. Awake for a few minutes, then dozing again. And when awake, the person may seem distant, like their thoughts are floating somewhere far beyond the room. It's not confusion, it's a shift. The brain is doing something beautiful and mysterious, like it's preparing, untangling itself from this world and settling into another. Some describe vivid dreams or even visions of people who've passed, of places from long ago, of lights that seem to glow without source. Whether you believe in the spiritual or not, it's hard to ignore the peace these experiences often bring. They don't frighten the person, they comfort them. It can feel strange, especially for family. A son watching his once chatty father now sleep through conversations. A spouse feeling a growing distance in what used to be shared silence. But here's the truth, it's not absence, it's transition. And if we allow ourselves to be present without needing to fix or pull them back, we can feel the connection deepen in ways that words can't express. Sometimes the hands and feet grow cooler. The color changes slightly. Circulation is slowing, focusing on protecting the most vital parts. The body knows exactly what it's doing. This isn't failure, it's wisdom. The same body that carried a lifetime of stories now writes its final chapter, and it does so with quiet dignity. Have you ever noticed how animals sense these things too? A dog who lies closer than usual, a cat who won't leave the room. They know. They don't ask questions, they simply stay. And maybe that's something we can learn from. Sometimes the most powerful support we can offer is presence. Just being there, heart open, breath slow, eyes soft. And so if someone you love is showing these gentle signs, know that they are not alone, and neither are you. As the days pass, one of the quietest changes comes not from the body, but from the voice. Not the volume, but the presence. Words become fewer, conversations shorten. At first it might be chalked up to fatigue, or maybe just a bad day, but then it lingers. Long silences stretch between sentences. Thoughts come slower, or sometimes don't arrive at all. It's not confusion, not quite. It's as if the mind is searching for something deeper to say, but has decided it's no longer necessary. I remember sitting beside an old friend who used to love telling stories. His voice was once full of color, pulling you into every memory like it happened yesterday. But in his final weeks, he barely spoke. Not out of pain or fear, but because, as he once told me, there's peace in silence now. I've said what I needed to. It's hard to hear less from someone you love, but maybe, just maybe, the quiet is its own form of presence, a way of saying, I'm still here, just softer now. This slowing of speech often coincides with another change, the eyes. There's something about the way a person's gaze begins to shift in those final weeks. They no longer focus on the room in front of them. Their eyes drift, sometimes to a window, sometimes to a corner where no one else is looking, and sometimes right through you, like they're seeing something you can't. A place, a memory, a light. Some describe it as distant, others as otherworldly. But nearly everyone who's been there says the same thing. It didn't feel scary, it felt peaceful. You might notice that your loved one wants less company, not out of unkindness, but out of need. The noise, the movement, the bright lights, all of it becomes too much. There's a drawing inward, a cocooning. Like the body and soul are wrapping themselves in softness, protecting their final energy for something unseen. Some call it withdrawal, but maybe it's sacred preparation. Maybe the person isn't shutting others out. They're just opening a space inside for what comes next. If you're still here watching or reading this, I want to pause and say something. Thank you. It means you have a heart that seeks to understand, not just to cope. You're choosing to be present with something that many people turn away from. That matters. And if you found even a moment of recognition in this story, consider sharing it with someone who might be walking a similar path. Sometimes the greatest gift is knowing we're not alone in what we're feeling. As the physical energy declines, something very profound often happens. The emotional energy shifts. You might notice your loved ones saying things they've never said before. Regrets spoken gently. Apologies whispered. Gratitude offered freely, even in broken phrases. Or sometimes just a look that says everything words can't. This is not always dramatic. Often it's quiet. A tear that falls during a song. A hand that lingers longer than usual during a goodbye. A request to see someone from long ago, even if just to say one last thing. This is the heart speaking now, not the mind. It's the part of us that remains long after the body grows tired. And when this begins to happen, you'll know you've entered one of the most sacred spaces life offers. Not in grand declarations, but in the trembling honesty of farewell. Sometimes these moments come wrapped in unexpected clarity. People who haven't been fully responsive for days may suddenly wake with bright eyes and a strong voice. They might ask for a specific food or smile in a way you haven't seen in weeks. They might even say, "It's time," or "I'm ready," or "Everything's okay now." And then just as quickly as it came, that clarity fades again. For families, this can feel confusing. Hope rises only to be gently released again. But many hospice nurses will tell you, it's not a trick, it's a gift, a final surge of presence before the body begins its final letting go. And in those last moments, the rhythm of the body changes. Breathing becomes slower, then uneven. Sometimes it's heavy, sometimes it pauses. But in those pauses, something sacred happens. There's a stillness, a waiting, as if the body is listening for a signal that only the soul can hear. And when it comes gently, like a candle quietly flickering out, not because it was blown, but because it had burned long enough. I once sat with a woman who passed at dawn. For hours before, she had been barely responsive. But just before sunrise, she opened her eyes, looked out the window, and smiled. She whispered a name, one we didn't recognize, and then, with a long, deep breath, she was gone. No drama, no fear, just light. That moment stayed with me because it reminded me that this journey, this strange, beautiful transition, is not an ending in the way we often fear. It's a return, a closing of one chapter, yes, but also a gentle turning of the page. And so if you are sitting beside someone right now, or if you are simply wondering what these signs might mean for someone you've loved and lost, I hope this has offered not just understanding, but peace. There's something quietly profound about the last place someone chooses to be. In the final stages of life, the body no longer craves movement. The bed becomes a world of its own, a space of stillness, of softness, of surrender. And while to others it might seem like giving up, to the person within it, it's a release, a letting go of the effort it takes to move, to sit, to stand. The body says, "I'm tired," and this time it truly means it. But it's not just physical. There's often a sense that the person is beginning to dwell somewhere between two places. 1 foot here, 1 foot already beyond. They might drift in and out of lucidity, not entirely rooted in the present moment. And you'll feel it, that gentle shifting. It's not scary. It's as if they're slowly untethering themselves from the world they've known. One memory at a time, one breath at a time. Many families describe this time as suspended. The hours stretch. The world outside the window continues as normal. Birds still sing, sunlight still filters in. But inside the room, it feels like time has bent. There's no rush anymore. No appointments, no need to plan or do. Just being, just holding, just remembering. And this too is part of the shutting down. It's not only the body that slows, time itself softens around the one who is preparing to leave. There are also shifts that touch the senses, the way the body responds to sound, to touch, to light. A once favorite song might no longer bring comfort, while a whisper or the warmth of a hand might soothe more than any word. The body becomes incredibly sensitive, not in pain, but in perception. The smallest gesture becomes enormous. A wet cloth to the lips, the brush of a blanket being tucked in, the scent of lavender in the room. These things matter now more than ever because the body, fragile as it may be, is still receiving love, and it knows. It's in these moments that the idea of being present takes on a whole new meaning. You realize that presence isn't about doing. It's not about fixing or changing or even speaking. It's about offering your full heart without the need to explain, to sit beside someone in silence and let your breath match theirs. That's where peace is built, not in grand words, but in quiet companionship. If you're still with me now, still listening to these reflections, it says something beautiful about who you are. You're someone who doesn't turn away from what's hard, someone who chooses to walk through the gentle closing of a chapter with eyes open and a heart willing to feel. And that's rare. If you know someone who might need to hear this, someone who is caring for a loved one, or perhaps wondering what happened in those final days, please consider sharing this video with them. Sometimes even a few calm words can bring light into a space that feels uncertain. There's one more thing I want to share, something that doesn't get spoken about enough, the space right after. The moment just after the breath leaves, after the room falls still. It can feel like a wave crashing through the heart, or like nothing at all. For some, there's weeping. For others, a stunned quiet. Some feel a sense of relief, especially if there was pain. Others feel guilt for feeling that way. And all of it is natural. You see, when a person passes, they don't take just their body with them. They leave behind echoes, in the folds of a blanket, in the quiet of a hallway, in the chair no one else sits in. Their absence becomes presence in a new form. And the ones left behind are asked to do something remarkably hard, to live with love in the shape of longing. And yet, over time, that longing shifts too. The ache dulls into tenderness. The memories, once sharp and raw, soften into warmth. You'll find yourself smiling at the thought of them, instead of weeping, or both at once. And that's okay too. Because the truth is, even though the body shuts down, love does not. Love stays in the stories we tell, in the habits we keep, in the songs we play when no one else is home. Love takes the shape of the ones we've lost and carries them forward through us. So if you are here and you've recently said goodbye to someone, whether it was yesterday or years ago, know this: you are part of a long human story, one that stretches across time and culture, across loss and healing. A story that says, this is how we love, this is how we grieve, and this is how we remember. There's one moment I'll never forget. A man in his 80s lying in a small hospice bed, the soft beeping of machines keeping rhythm in the room. He hadn't spoken in 2 days. His daughter sat quietly beside him, holding his hand with both of hers, eyes closed, just being there. Then, with almost no warning, his eyes fluttered open. He turned slowly, looked at her, and whispered, "I'll always be right here." Then he gently closed his eyes again, and within the hour he was gone. No drama, no final gasp, just a sentence carried on breath and a departure as calm as the setting sun. These moments, the ones no one teaches us about, are often the most human. They're not wrapped in medical textbooks or found in movies. They unfold in quiet bedrooms, in homes filled with years of living, in hospitals and hospices, in the hush of early morning. And more often than not, they are carried by ordinary people showing extraordinary courage. People like you who sit beside a loved one as their body slowly lets go. As the final systems begin to wind down, the body sometimes does things we don't understand. The skin may change color. Breathing may become labored or irregular. Hands might reach towards something unseen. These things can feel unsettling, especially if you're witnessing them for the first time. But they are not signs of distress. They are simply part of the body's last journey, like a ship drifting from shore, adjusting to the tide. Some loved ones will feel helpless watching this happen. "I don't know what to do," they whisper. But the truth is, they're already doing everything. Sitting nearby, whispering comfort, bringing water to moisten dry lips, singing that favorite old song. These small acts, they matter more than we know. Because even if the person can no longer respond, they can feel. The body, even in its final hours, is listening. And sometimes, right before the very end, something unexpected happens. There's a stillness that fills the room, a quiet so deep it feels sacred. No one wants to speak. No one wants to break the spell. It's as though everyone present instinctively knows. This is the moment. And then, in a breath barely heard, they let go. People often ask, "How will I know when it's time?" And the truth is, there's rarely a clear answer. But in that final breath, you'll know. Not with your mind, but with something deeper. It's a kind of knowing that doesn't use words. It comes through your bones, through the quiet that follows, through the sudden weight of absence that settles into the room like mist. If you're watching this because you're preparing to say goodbye, or because you already have, let this be a reminder. Death is not a failure. It is not the opposite of life. It is part of life. The final movement in a symphony that has been building for decades. And like the last note of a song, it deserves to be heard and honored. If you're still watching with me now, please take a moment to breathe, gently, fully. Place your hand on your chest and feel your own rhythm. Life is still moving through you, and that matters. If this message has brought you clarity or comfort, please consider sharing it. Not to grow numbers or views, but to reach someone who may be sitting alone right now, holding a hand, waiting, not knowing what they're feeling. Let them know they're not alone, that they are part of something tender and universal. And here's one last thing to hold close. The body may leave, but the love, it remains. It lingers in the way you now make tea the way they liked, in the songs you suddenly hum without thinking, in the way you pause at the door before you step outside, just like they used to. That is their echo. That is the proof they lived and loved and mattered. And now so do you. In every gentle act you carry forward, in every story you share, in every time you offer comfort to someone else who's walking this same path. Because life, even in its final chapter, still has so much to teach us about grace. Maybe the most beautiful truth in all of this is that the end of life doesn't erase a life, it reveals it. In those final moments, when the noise fades, when the busyness of the world slows, when the breath becomes still, we are left with something astonishingly pure, the essence of a person. Not the roles they played or the things they owned, but who they really were when everything else fell away. Their kindness, their laughter, the way they loved, the way they forgave, the way they stayed. You see, the body may slowly shut down, but it does not vanish in shame or defeat. It bows, with dignity, with memory, with sacred finality. And for those of us who remain, there's something sacred in learning how to stay beside someone as they leave. It teaches us how to be present in the deepest way, to sit with silence without needing to fill it, to hold a hand without needing to speak, to cry without apology. That kind of presence doesn't just help someone die peacefully, it teaches us how to live more fully. Because when you've walked someone to their final breath, you no longer fear the quiet in your own life. You welcome it. You no longer rush past small things, because you've seen how much they matter at the end. The softness of a pillow, the warmth of a cup of tea, the comfort of a familiar voice. You begin to understand that these are not luxuries, they are life itself. And perhaps that is the final gift of witnessing death. It opens your heart. It doesn't harden you. It doesn't close you off. It softens you in the places that matter. It reminds you that love is not measured in time. It's measured in presence, in how deeply we choose to show up. And when we do, even loss becomes a kind of prayer. So, if you are grieving, I say this to you gently. Your love didn't end when they left. It lives on in every act of compassion you now offer to the world. In every moment you choose to be tender, to be patient, to be real. That is how their story continues, through you. And if you're not grieving, but simply preparing or reflecting or holding space for someone else, then thank you. Thank you for caring enough to listen, to learn, to sit with these quiet truths that so many avoid. You are part of a rare kind of courage, the kind that looks at life honestly and still chooses to love anyway. Please, if this video has touched you, consider sharing it with someone who may need it. A friend, a caregiver, a sibling, a child. Sometimes the right words, spoken at the right time, can wrap around a heart like a warm blanket. And finally, from one heart to another, wherever you are, whatever you're feeling, may you know this. When the body begins to shut down, it is not an ending. It is a return, a soft homecoming, a gentle letting go of weight we were never meant to carry forever. And on the other side of that breath, beyond what we can see, perhaps there is only light. If you made it here, thank you for staying until the end. Please take care of yourself and take care of each other. And if someone you love is still here, still breathing, still laughing, call them, sit with them, tell them they matter. Because in the end, that's all that truly does.